Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we are going to talk about simple guide on how to budget. I know for others, medyo madali lang mag-budget, but for some, medyo nahihirapan sila mag-budget on a monthly basis. Or yung iba naman, hindi pa talaga nagba-budget. So, for today's video, we are going to talk about the simpler guide on how we can do our monthly budget. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start the discussion. So first step that we have here is to make sure to write down your goals. It can also be short term, it can also be mid-term, long term. So make sure that you always write down your goals on a monthly basis. So you also have to assign amounts and set deadlines. So for short-term goals, this can be less than 12 months. For mid-term goals, this can also be 1 year to 5 years. And for long-term goals, it can also be more than 5 years. So that's the first simple guide on how to budget. So now let's go ahead and talk about an example. Example of a goal here is to set up an emergency fund within a year. So let's say you already completed all of your monthly expenses and you estimated that your monthly expenses is 15,000, and if you want to set up your emergency fund for 3 months, that's going to be 45,000. But if you want to set up your emergency fund for 6 months, so that's going to be 15,000 of your monthly expenses times 6 months, so that's going to be 90,000. Now, the goal here is to set up your emergency fund within a year. So, say you are going to start your emergency fund this month. So, it's up to you on how you are going to set aside an amount for your emergency fund every month. But your goal is to be able to set up that 3 months or 6 months within a year. But this is still depending on your monthly budget. Now, another perfect example here for your short-term goals. Say you have an upcoming travel in 10 months. So your estimated budget is 20,000. So you need to set aside or save at least 2,000 pesos per month, so that come 10th month of that travel, you have already your estimated budget, which is 20,000. This is just an example, but if your travel is exceeding 20,000, so you can also set up, let's say, 30,000, 40,000 if you're going to travel out of the country. Now, second simple tip here is to make sure to list down your income, savings, investments, and expenses. So this second tip is actually very effective, because you would be able to know and track how much your monthly income, how much goes to your savings, investments if you have, and also you need to track your expenses every month. So now let's go ahead and talk about per category. So earlier we talked about income. So it can also be a salary or from your bonus. For those who are getting their monthly income through commission, so you can write down commission. For those students, you can also write down allowance. And then for those who have businesses or small businesses, you can also get an income from your business. And for others, you can also get an income from your side hustle. Alright, so next category here, I categorize savings and investment. So let's go ahead and talk about savings first. So on a monthly basis, you need to make sure that you categorize your savings according to the purpose of the savings. So I listed some examples here down below. So first, if you have a travel savings funds or a travel fund every month, you can also set up your savings for your emergency fund. Example, you are fulfilling a savings for your down payment for a car. And lastly, dream house. But for the savings, this is just an example, so you can set up savings purpose accordingly. So now you can also list down your investments. So let's go ahead and talk about the categories. So first, we have real estate property. You can also set aside money for your stocks, mutual fund, MP2 pag-ibig savings fund, and for your business fund. Now another category here that you need to track or to list down is your expenses. This is very important because this is the heart and soul of every budget. So you need to make sure that this is breakdown per category. So I listed here fixed expenses. Basically, fixed expenses are expenses wherein it is actually fixed every month. You know how much it goes to these expenses. Variable, these variable expenses changes from time to time, and also sinking funds. So let's go ahead and talk about fixed expenses first. I listed down some examples here. Say monthly rent, your internet bill, your insurance premium, your emergency fund, and savings. If you notice, I included emergency fund and savings on the fixed expenses because if you are still setting up your emergency fund, that's going to be fixed every paycheck. So depending on your budget. Now, I also put an example here under variable categories or variable expenses, your monthly groceries, your utility bills, your toiletries, or eating out. Another category that can be listed here on fixed income, or I mean fixed expenses, are your monthly subscriptions like your Spotify, if you have, or your Netflix. Now, personally, I'm using sinking funds. I just listed different categories here. Primary care, these are your monthly vitamins. Birthday fund, clothing, Christmas, and gifts. So these are some of the expenses. You just need to break down per category: fixed, variable, and sinking funds. And the third one is you need to make sure that you compute all income and expenses so that you would be able to compare the cash inflow versus the cash outflow. It's very important that you know how much your income is and how much goes to your expenses so that you would be able to compare how much is the money that's going to your expenses and to your income. Because once you know how much is going to your income and expenses, you can go ahead and allocate funds accordingly. So I just set up an example here. You can actually try to allocate funds accordingly via 50-30-20 rule. So 50% your living expenses, 30% needs and wants, and 20% for your savings and investments. Now, so these are the three simple guide on how to budget. So first, we talked about write down your goals, track your income, savings, investments, and expenses, and lastly, compute all income and expenses and allocate funds every month. Now, I'm going to present to you one example that I created here for myself. So as you can see here, this is already categorized for March 30 budget. So I already listed here under red. You can see here fixed expenses, and then I have here house rent, insurance premiums, internet, prepaid load, emergency fund, and savings. For my variable expenses, I have here groceries, electricity or water, for gas, transportation, toiletries, and restaurant. And I also have here my sinking funds. So in total, I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 categories here, and I just assigned different budgets per category under my sinking funds. So this is just an example for my March 30th budget. So, but you can still create your own monthly budget. But I just shared with all of you the simple guide on how to budget. So it's up to you on how you would be able to create your own monthly income budget. I'm using this small notebook to be able to write down my monthly budget here, so that I would be able to track my expenses every month as well. So that's it for today, and thank you so much for watching. I hope that you were able to learn at least one or two from this video, and that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching our personal finance video for today. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe on our channel, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you will be informed whenever I upload new videos. Thank you guys.